Hello, and welcome to the Weaponized Marriage Podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Hewitt,
And I am your host, Ryan Hewitt.
and today's topic is
We're going to talk about how to stay healthy in your marriage.
like physically,
Yeah, physically healthy.
mentally, and emotionally too,
Well, I mean, it's all
but more
connected.
physical today.
Well, so Kendra wanted to talk about this topic. We've touched on it. Okay, like listen, you don't need to listen to us in a lot of things, but I feel like we've got a pretty good grasp in the topic of health and wellness and fitness and recovery and performance. It's literally my expertise. So this topic comes up a lot. And Kendra's got a lot of messages lately about people that are inquiring about, well, how do I prioritize health? How do I look like you? Right? They see you and they want to look like you and they want to, be healthy like you are. So yeah, people are very interested because I think there's a lot of, women that are responding to you that are struggling in their health, particularly in their 40s, maybe
Yeah.
50s, well, perimenopausal, maybe late 30s. So we wanted to talk specifically about how Kendra and I prioritize health and fitness and how we do it in our
Together.
busy lifestyle. Yeah, because I always joke with my patients that I think a lot of people would be like crushed by what I do in a day as far as like production and physical activity and stuff like that. And I'm adapted to it. So I don't expect anybody to want to do that. But like if you want to look good, you want to feel good, you want to fuck good. Yeah, I mean, you want to.
That's Ryan's tagline.
Yeah, that's my tagline. You want to enjoy, obviously, the years in your life. Like it's the quality in your life, and your health is a massive part of it. So I always say that you have 99 problems until you have a health problem, and then you only have one problem.
I
So
love that.
it should be and has to be one of the main focuses and values in your marriage and in your life.
Yeah. And I think in your marriage, I mean, obviously you and I are very aligned and passionate about those two things. Like it's your profession. It was one of the things that brought us together was like your commitment to living a healthy lifestyle. I think there's times in marriages where it kind of like deviates, or maybe there's one person
Well, it
that's
deprioritizes.
or deprioritizes, yet, or maybe, and sometimes on purpose. Let's let like reality is like
No,
sometimes it's
life
on
is
purpose.
busy.
Yeah,
Life's busy.
and sometimes you get off track and it's like, how do you bring it together? And I thought today what we should talk about is like, what are our core principles at this stage of the game? And like Ryan was saying, I've had a couple people reach out to me and be like, listen, I've seen some pictures of you. Like, what are you doing differently? And
You look hot as fuck. What are you doing?
and here is like one of the things that I think about. It's like, man, I definitely personally have felt a huge shift on how much more I have to prioritize certain things and pay attention to things that will move the needle versus things that have fallen. There's some things that have fallen away in terms of priorities. Um, so I thought today, like, let's talk about like where we are at. A couple, everybody who's listening to us knows we have multiple businesses. We have one daughter. And what are some of the things that you and I do together versus what are some of the things that each of us do individually? Like I said, like you said at the beginning, you're a little bit over the top in some of the stuff you do.
Well, yeah.
But like, let's give people like a baseline of like, hey, if you're starting here, what are some of the things that they could focus
Well,
on
first of
that they
all,
could
like people
do?
don't I don't want this podcast to turn into like, here's fucking 5 tips to stay healthy.
No, I
It's
know.
people know what to do. It's so stupid. Like people know they need to drink water, they need to move their body, they need to eat healthy food that grow from the ground and has a heartbeat and a mother. Like it's not that's not it. It's people have massive problems prioritizing their health. And I hear it all day long in my practice. Like I'm so busy. Like here's what I hear. I'm too busy. And then here comes all the excuses. My kids leave at this time and then I have to work at this time. And then my husband doesn't come home till this time. And then I have all these sports and things to drive my kids around to do. And like what happens is like, it doesn't like you can do anything you want. You just can't do everything you want. It's the truth. Like no matter what, you just got to take a hard look in the mirror. And this is going to sound harsh and it's going to be like a big dose of reality. But if you do not prioritize your health, if you're not selfish with your health, then you're going to suffer. Like moms are notorious for this because they just give away to their husband, they give away to their kids. Like, oh, I'm going to make sure everybody else is comfortable and healthy and happy except me. Like, and it's not good because the only person that suffers is, the mom, the wife. And and inevitably what I see happen is like, oh, and then there's a sick parent and then they step in and take care of the sick parent and they're not taking care of themselves and then they get sick and then someone else has to step in and take care of them. And it's this whole like perpetual like generational sickness that in a lot of cases I see blamed on like bad luck, bad germs, bad genes, and it's not true.
Yeah, we could be all day talking about just this part of it.
Well, yeah, but here's my point is that if you do not prioritize at least, 1 hour of your day to whatever it is, like like preparing meals is your thing, then make it that. Like if it's like 1
But
hour
here's
of
the thing, right, is
exercise,
that,
like
like,
that's
you're
it.
being too general. Because that's this is the thing. This is why when people are messaging me, they're like, "What do you do differently that is not in the dogma of fitness advice?" So, I wanna talk specifically, like, what do
Okay.
we do differently? And the reason
Well,
that
I'm saying the
the
first thing we do differently is we prioritize, like we make it a
right.
non-negotiable.
Okay, but tell me what are those priorities, like, for you
Okay.
right now at this stage of your game, and I'll tell you what mine are.
Okay, so well, as you know, like a non-negotiable for me is like I take at least 45 minutes every single day to dedicate to my fitness.
Mhm.
Non-negotiable.
Okay,
Like
so
whether
what does that 45 minutes of
well,
fitness for you now look like?
right, exactly. So everybody's life looks different, right? So I don't expect anybody to do it like I do, but for me, like I have blocks in my week that it absolutely has to happen or it doesn't happen. And I know
Okay.
that's the case for most people. Most
Mhm.
people have children and jobs and businesses. So for me, like there's 2 mornings in the week, it has to happen by 6 a.m., like 6 to 7 a.m., 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. And then there's 2 times during the week that it has to happen. Well, 3 times in the week, it has to happen in the early afternoon. So we're talking like 1 till 3 p.m., in that range, right? It all depends on when my consults happen. It
Yeah.
depends when
But tell
that
me,
type of thing.
okay, so your first priority is scheduling it.
Scheduling it, yes.
Okay.
In other words, like, you have to prioritize yourself, first of all, and dedicate an hour in your day. Like I said, for me, that hour happens at specific times, and in that hour, I choose fitness. That's what I do.
Okay. So now give me specifics. What's your priority if you have 45 minutes to work out, which is what you give yourself time for?
Mhm. Yeah.
What type of training at 45 years old to optimize your hormones, your performance, your recovery? What type of training are you doing?
Right. So it has to, like, so the 45 to an hour has to be strength oriented. So you need to have like compound movements that are strength and conditioning. So in other words, you're lifting moderate to heavier weights and you're doing, multiple body parts during the week. It doesn't matter. Like you don't have to do a bodybuilding split. You could do an upper and lower body split. You could do a power lift. It doesn't matter as long as you're lifting weights during the week. Like we're talking a minimum of 2, ideally 4 times a week.
Mhm.
That goes for everybody, male, female, it doesn't matter. And then you need to have some conditioning in there as well. So I won't every 45-minute session at the gym just lift weights. I mean, there's times I'll do a spin class. There's times I will just like walk on a treadmill for 45 minutes at an incline. So I prioritize at least 4, preferably 5 days of strength, and then I'll do 2 days, 1 day usually, of aerobic and 1 day of like a yoga,
Mhm.
okay? Now, that is like the fitness hour, okay? On top of that, where most people need to focus their attention to is just move more. They need to move their body more. So, you and I, this is a huge thing, like, I take Huckleberry Hound out for a 20-minute, like, light jog to walk, like, 4 days a week. You do
Mhm.
it 3 days a week. So that automatically gets me out for another, like, almost 2 miles.
Yeah, so you're also the third thing I'm hearing you prioritize, which mine are gonna be similar, but I'm gonna be specific to females a little bit, is, you prioritize your total daily energy expenditure. M
No, movement. I don't
movement.
care about energy
Okay.
expenditure.
So, you prioritize movement in addition to your workout hour. Like, you're
Yes.
moving more.
Yeah, so I prioritize, first of all, number 1, like, if there's a pyramid here, right?
Mhm,
So the base of the pyramid is moving my body for, like, let's say it's 10,000 steps, okay? Like, I do have a Whoop, and I track it, and it's always between 10 to 13,000 steps,
mhm.
always. I have the benefit of having a job where I don't sit on my ass, right?
Yeah.
So I'm up and moving around and adjusting people. And aside from that, like, I'm never, other than like doing a podcast or working a little bit on the laptop, I'm rarely sitting. So,
Mhm,
but how it's structured is like I have a dog and I prioritize taking the dog out for 20 to 30 minutes, 4 days a
mhm,
week. So that's an easy way for me to get like another 4 to 5,000 steps on
mhm.
top of what I'm getting that
Yeah.
day.
I find that a 30 to 40-minute walk for me is an additional 5,000 steps. 3 to 5
Exactly.
3 to 5,000 steps, depending on, like, if I'm with Huck and he's, like, sniffing
Yeah.
around and stuff like that.
So base of the pyramid is movement. Okay. Up from that is strength training,
Mhm,
okay? And then the next one after that is, like, aerobic training, right? So, I don't know how complicated I should get with this, but really just, like, once a week minimum, doing 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes of zone 2 cardio. Now what
mhm,
that means is, like, you can carry a conversation, but it's a little bit, difficult. So your heart rate is at, like, 60 to 70%. Um, in other words, you're walking at a fast, brisk pace or jogging or walking at an incline, or you could put a weight vest or a rucksack on. So it's just like you're getting a little sweat, heart rate's up a little bit, but you can still carry like a strained conversation with
mhm.
somebody. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you're doing like movement, you're doing strength training, you're doing aerobic training. Now, above that would be, and we're just talking for physical fitness. And it sounds like a ton, but like, listen, if you did just those 3 things as
Mhm.
a percentage of your days, it's very small We're talking that's like less than 10% of your day.
Yeah. Mhm,
So up from that would be like high intensity interval or sprinting. So here's the thing. I listened to Peter Attia the other day, and I mean that guy's brilliant, but he's an expert on longevity. He wrote a book that's a bestseller that everybody should
mhm,
read called Outlive. And the thing is, and I see this with all my deconditioned older people all day. No, we're not talking old, like 40s, 50s, even 30s. There's like, and this, I'll dumb this down. You have muscle fibers in your body that are good for like strength, and then you have muscle fibers in your body that are good for endurance, and you have muscle fibers in your body that are really good for like quick, like fast
fast
twitch.
twitch, yeah.
Like, so think about when you catch your toe on the edge of a step, right? Do you fall on your face?
Are you
Yeah,
asking
I'm
me?
asking you.
No,
Okay, no, why don't you fall on your face?
because I have some sort of
Because you
not much,
yeah,
but some.
we're not gonna make fun of your fast twitch today.
Okay, thank you.
Um, yes, so you have reactionary, like, type 2A, like, muscle fibers
Mhm,
that help you catch your balance so you don't fall and twist your ankle and break your arm. This is something like, as you age, those are the fibers that deteriorate the fastest and the most. So, how many, like, adults do you know that do, like, explosive training? Like, do things like sprint or
plyometric,
box jump
yeah.
or jump rope or plyometric. Like, it is so critical. So, you don't have to do a lot of it, honestly. Like, you just jump up and down for a minute every day. Like, man, you just did some, like,
Yeah.
fast twitch fiber, like, and that's really good for women, especially who are concerned about bone density.
Mhm,
But the thing is, like, with falling, everyone thinks it's like, "Oh, well, you get weak." It's like, well, no, you get slow.
mhm, yeah. I love Peter Attia, but I really, like, have been binging Gabby Lyons, Dr. Gabby Lyons,
Mhm.
and she has had 3 or 4 back-to-back women researchers, scientists, and doctors on recently, and I just even listened to one today, and she was talking about, they studied geriatric patients that had no movement history, and all they did was they made them to 2 high intensity trainings twice per week
Mhm.
for 10 minutes. That's it.
Right.
And the measurement of how much their fitness increased with no baseline
How'd they measure it?
is,
Like VO2 max?
VO2 max
Yeah.
was how they measured it,
Yeah.
and then, was, like, insane. And she was talking about how for years she loves to train high intensity, and I used to love that too,
Mhm.
but about how she's really dialed back the high
Mhm.
intensity because one of the things that the doctor was talking about that did the study was about how, like, if you are not, if you are doing high intensity and calling it high intensity, but you can do high intensity within a 48-hour period of time, then it wasn't really high intensity. And about how, like, there's a really fine line of, like, you should be working so hard in the high intensity
Mhm.
based on your fitness level that you can't do it again for a couple days
Yeah,
because that's where
because you got the right stimulus.
but she's like, but even, like, people that are much more trained, they need high intensity, like you're saying, less and less.
Yeah.
They need it maybe once that's the tip of the
So that's why
triangle.
it's on the
Yeah.
top of the pyramid, and then if you wanna include, like, mobility, yoga, flexibility, something that's, like,
Mhm.
recovery-oriented, movement, mobility-oriented, and that's, like, my pyramid of how I practice, like, how I'm like, I have I'm really strong, I'm still quick, I have great aerobic endurance, I have, strength, speed, flexibility, coordination, balance, agility, like, and I'm gonna have it for a long time because I still make deposits in all of
Yeah.
these categories, right?
So let's get away from the training a little bit because
Yeah, so, well,
what I
that's like
heard
the
you
training pyramid. Why
yeah,
don't we talk about, like, a nutrition
I
pyramid?
was gonna say, so, like, hit that next and then
But
hit
did
some
that
of the other
sound like unreasonable, like I spend my whole life exercising?
No, but, what I think is really good to share is because, like I said, people probably look at you and they probably be like, "Oh my god, he follows this probably meticulous plan," which is true. I think that, like, that there is definitely some truth to that. But what I want them to see is that, like I said, how do we prioritize it in our busy
Yeah.
lives? So I heard you say scheduling. I
Mhm,
heard you say how you prioritize the type of training.
mhm,
So if you only have 3 days a week to train,
yeah.
then pick resistance
Well,
training
and
is what I
then we're
heard.
respectful of each other's times that we train. Like, I know it's a
Yes.
priority like, it's a priority for me that you stay fit, right? It's a
Yep.
priority for you, like, I'm an asshole if I don't train, so I know you want me to
Yeah.
train just so I'm not a
Totally.
dick, but, and that's probably the number one driver. But anyway, so we value like, training, so we each make sure that, like, part of, like, Lifetime Fitness only because really they have childcare there, right? So anyway, we've gamed it so we can each give each other that 45 to an hour every day to dedicate to fitness. So why don't you talk about, like, if we were going to go over like a nutrition pyramid, what would you how would you
I
design
think
it?
I want you to finish with your nutrition and then how we design because I want to talk from the female perspective a little bit about like what I prioritize beyond the schedule
You
and
eat
the stuff
different
like
as a
that.
female?
No, but there's things that I definitely pay attention to that I don't think that you haven't hit on yet. So
Okay.
I would just want to
So you want
simplify it.
Okay, so you will move on to nutrition now.
Yes.
Okay, so and nutrition too, by the way, like this does not occupy like hours and hours of my life. Like I eat simply, I eat nutritiously. Um, I we do budget a lot of our money towards nutrition. So I mean, this is again, it's part of our values. Like
I don't know if I would call it budget. We just spent a lot of
we
our
just
money
spend
on
a shit
food.
ton of money on food. Yeah. So the base of I mean, this is gonna surprise a lot of people, but um, the base of my pyramid is, protein. It's not vegetables, but it's, uh, it's
Mine too.
it's protein, right? So, over the years, and I trust me, I've practiced and tried N equals 1, like, almost all diet styles, and I've coached and I've taken care of a ton of patients that have practiced all kinds of nutrition styles, and I've read tons of white paper research, and I listen and read, blah, blah, blah. So, the number one thing you can do as somebody who's concerned about their muscle mass, their body composition, their performance, their health, and their recovery, their longevity, their bone density, their hormones, and so on, is protein. I don't care, who you are, female or male. So, what does that look like for me? Well, all of my meals are all built around protein. It is the largest part of our budget. I have a
Mhm.
butcher box subscription. I also purchase meats at different grocery stores, and we have a big ass freezer in our basement. And I plan to hunt one day so I can harvest my own venison, but that's unfortunately not happening right now. Um, so r- so anyways, so the base of the pyramid is protein. After that, for me, is like quality carbohydrates. For me, I do eat carbs because I do prioritize muscle building and recovery. I'm not trying to like constantly lose weight and whatnot. So it all depends on like your goals. I do think carbohydrates belong in a healthy diet. Uh, Some people need more than others. It depends who you are. And then on top of that would be like vegetables and fiber, healthy fats, vitamins and minerals, supplements, right? That would be my pyramid.
And high quality supplements that you have data to support, meaning you have lab work that says this is what you're missing, this is where you're good, and you're not taking a bunch of expensive supplements that are coming out in your piss that you don't really need.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Sure. I
Yeah.
like it. And here's the thing, this might surprise a lot of people too, or maybe not. I eat the same thing every day. Literally,
I do not.
so this is maybe where if you think it's a female thing, I don't know. It's just,
No, I don't think this is a
it,
male or female thing. I think
well,
it's a preference.
I think there's definitely guys that are more, I think guys are more receptive to eating the same thing every day and more simply. That's just my opinion. But, um, how it works is I always make my own breakfast, and I meal prep lunch, or we have a chef for 3 days during the week that makes lunches and
Mhm.
dinner for us. And then on the days we don't have a chef, we will make dinner, either Kendra or I or both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of my
Which
meats.
is new and is a luxury
Yeah,
and
and it doesn't have to
but
happen.
has been a absolute game changer for us with
Here's the
consistency.
deal. You either meal prep once and have a meal service or chef, or you meal prep twice. This is what I found tried and true with all my guys
Mhm.
I coach. Like, you meal prep Sundays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
If you try to meal prep for the whole week, your meals are going to taste like ass later in the
And you're gonna
week,
get bored.
and you're not going to eat them. And then you're going to go out and then you're going to just get way off
Yep.
track.
Yep.
Kendra and I, we do not eat out often. We will eat out once a week. So we
Mhm.
try to eat out just one dinner a week. We don't eat out lunches. We don't
I
eat
will usually have, like, 1 lunch a week.
No, not me. So we don't eat out lunches, you do. We don't eat out breakfasts, we don't snack. We have very planned and regimented meals. It sounds militant and regimented, but it's the only way to stay on target with what you're trying to do. And for me, it's performance, health, recovery, and body comp,
Yeah.
right? So those are sort of like, that's the pyramid, and here's the principles. The principles are, we eat out once a week. We don't eat out at all until date night. I pick my spots when I consume alcohol.
Mhm.
We consume alcohol very infrequently now. What I found is it drags me down in every way possible. The only time that it's like worth it for me is if there's like a really good drink that I want and we're out enjoying conversation or having fun.
Mhm.
And I'll keep it to like 1 to 3. That's
Yeah.
it. If it's more than that, I'm fucked. My next day's ruined, or my next morning is, at least. Um,
Usually and honestly, if we're being honest, like, our night is ruined too. Like, usually, like, our sleep's fucked up
yeah,
or,
you
like,
yeah.
if we try to have sex, like, sometimes
Oh,
it
yeah.
doesn't
Fall asleep.
doesn't happen. Like, when alcohol's involved, which, I mean, in our 20s, that was very different, I feel like, but
Yeah, well, for sure. So, like, listen here, like, if we just listed
Mhm.
out the principle, if you surveyed 100 people, you're like, "Wow, I wanna, like, do what that person does to have the health and fitness they do." And you find 100 people like that, here's what they're gonna do. They're gonna go to bed on time, right? For us, it's 10 o'clock. They're going to drink water. For me, it's a gallon a day. They're going to prioritize protein and follow a plan, right?
Mhm.
Which we're talking about. They're going to train, specific times during the week and follow a plan. And they're going to, manage their stress somehow, some way, right? So whether it's like with talk therapy, meditation, morning routines, recovery practices, whatever it is.
Yep. Okay. So I think you hit a lot of the points I'm gonna hit, but I'm gonna tailor it a little bit more to make it a little bit simplified for the females. Um,
What does that mean?
Obviously, the prioritizing of the schedule, I totally agree with. Like, I was someone that always used to train at night. It used to be something I looked forward to at the end of my day. Now, if I train at night, I'm fucked for sleep. Um, and I also do not get the same workout that I get in if I do it first thing in the morning. So first thing in the morning for me is not as early as you because we switch off, but that's part of how we
Mhm.
schedule and plan together and we honor those times for each other
Well,
of like,
you don't get up as early as I do,
yeah,
period. I mean,
yeah.
and
And I struggle to get
do you know
going.
how many women I talk to? They're like, "Oh no, I don't get up. there's got to be like a male female thing there that
Yeah,
like guys
there
just
definitely is.
or wired to get
There's
up
an
earlier.
unspoken exhaustion. Like, I'm not
Sure.
even like, I'm
No, I
not
believe
even
it.
kidding.
I believe it.
And you know what I thought about? I was laughing. I didn't think about this the other day, but Mother's Day was this weekend, which I had an amazing Mother's Day. And one of the things that was funny is that Ryan took Lily all day. And then on Monday morning, you didn't get up for your normal gym time. And you're like, I'm just so tired. And I was like, yes, because you mothered all day on top of the things that you had to do otherwise. And I was like,
plus I did a spin class and I ran Huck for 2 miles.
that's what I
And I
mean.
took Lily all day
That's
and
what I'm
built a
saying.
table and
I
made
was
you
like,
dinner and made you breakfast.
yes. And I was like, but that's a typical day for me, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
of all of those different things,
I
right?
get it.
And there's an unspoken exhaustion of the invisible labor,
Sure.
right? So let's give some women some credit there.
I do.
I just wanted to note that you slept in on Monday and skipped your workout till later because of it.
So you agree with my exercise pyramid or my movement
Yes.
period? You agree with my
but
nutrition
I want to be
pyramid?
very specific
Well,
about
you're going off on different things.
No,
I think we should make a third and final pyramid where it's like other stuff that we
okay.
practice.
So we're gonna get into that. We're gonna run out of time before Lily comes, so Lily's gonna have to join us on this. So I think the huge thing that I wanted to talk about was how have I changed my training. Now, I am someone, and this was also some of the research they were talking about with the doctor I listened to with Gabby Lyons today. She was talking about how some of the science behind that women are built more from an endurance standpoint, typically. And she was talking about how men have more. It's because of puberty when they have testosterone come into their system that they tend to carry and gain muscle more. And one of my
Yeah, of course.
favorite like myths that I love to go off on is about how like women that are like, "Oh, I don't lift weights because I might get bulky." I'm like, "Do you know how fucking
You think
hard?"
people still believe that?
There are still women that believe that, Ryan.
It's
I know
crazy.
it's hard to believe.
It's crazy.
But one of the reasons that I wanted to segue this way into training was because I truly believe is like I loved CrossFit. Like I like more endurance style, like longer metabolic conditioning workouts. Those are more my style. I am very slow twitch, not very fast twitch at all. And I know that about myself in terms of my muscle fibers. But one of the things that I think is really important, regardless that we cover, is that if you are not someone that has trained, like for example, I've had people that have been like, I know you've been athletic your whole life, blah, blah, blah. So they think because I've been athletic my whole life, that that's why I have more muscle in my body, which I'm like, actually, that's somewhat true, but not really true. But the reason that I'm bringing this part up on the pyramid of working out is right now at 43 years old, like I said, I've noticed I've had to do things a little bit differently. I have less room for error, so I have to have more bang for my buck. And if you are in your 40s and your hormones are starting to shift, male or female, you have to be following some sort of specific program that is progressive overload type training. Meaning you are doing resistance training that is going to build up weight over a time period, and then you can switch the program if you have a different goal. But I think that's huge is like if I had a dime for all the people that are going to Orange Theory and Alpha Class and all these different classes and wondering why they're not getting a real good result, it's because they are doing a workout that is actually not giving them progressive overload where they're actually challenging their body and their muscle mass.
Yeah. I mean,
Let's hit pause and then come back.
Okay.
Okay, so when it comes to progressive overload, I think one of the best things that I did that you really encouraged me to do was to get a trainer that would write a program for me that I would follow. And I had done tons of programs before, but I'd never really like followed it.
Mhm.
And having a trainer just create a custom program for me was absolutely game changer. So I think one of the things that you could do as a team in your health and fitness in your marriage is really encourage the other person to train in a way that not only that they enjoy, but something that where they're working towards or following a specific program. And to do that in your marriage, I think it was game changer, like I said, when you invested in that for me. Because I had hired a trainer. had her program for me, and then I was ready to, like, stop the program, like, just, like, do what she had taught me, and then you were like, "No, keep going," like,
Well,
because
because that's what
build on that foundation.
you've always done.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, so here, just let me say one thing about that, and I don't think a lot of people realize this, but the the muscle that you build now, like in your 30s and 40s, is going to serve you in your 60s and 70s. Like it is so hard to build muscle later in life. Like you're basically if you're concerned about compounding interest in your finances and putting money aside for like retirement or whatever you want to call it, like and you're not building muscle, like you're missing the boat. You've
yeah,
completely dissociated like what matters most. Like I have a guy that just started care. He's overweight, under muscled, like he's sick and he doesn't know it. Like
you're typical.
he's got cardio disease, he's got blood sugar issues, but he's like he feels fine, right? And he's like, okay, I sold my business. We have like money and a place in Florida, and like we're ready for our go-go years now. But he's like, okay, but my wife and I we're trying to get healthy now. I'm like, okay, I'm here to help you.
Mhm,
Like, let's go. But like this decision should have happened like 30 years ago. So, uh, like making the decision to strength train now in your 40s might seem like you don't have time, right? Like
mhm,
it's difficult. Like it's not my thing. And I'd rather just do Orange Theory or do cardio till I'm blue in the
mhm,
face. Like here's a principle everybody needs to leave this podcast understanding. Like if you're stalled out in your weight loss or you have fat around your belly or your ass or whatever, and you're like you've tried everything, right? So like you've tried all the exercise programs and nutrition plans, like, I guarantee you your problem isn't that your metabolism's slow, it's that you're under muscled.
mhm,
Like, you have
absolutely.
your muscle is the metabolic machinery that you invest in that literally makes you money in your sleep. It burns calories when you sleep. Like, when I lay in bed at night, like, I am on fire. Like, I fucking can't sleep with clothes on because, I mean, my metabolism's always
Yeah,
raging,
you're always
not because I'm, like, vibrating, always
you're
moving, it's just because.
thermogenic.
Well, listen, it's because I have a ton of muscle, like, and
Mhm,
that's what I've prioritized, that's what I've built, and, like, this is my investment I'm gonna protect, and I'm gonna keep putting those
yeah,
deposits in every week, right? Because it's gonna serve me later in life. It's the
yeah,
same thing with your finances, the same thing with your marriage. So I just wanted to say that, like, whether you're
yeah,
male, whether you're female, like, strength training has to be your foundation. Like, enough with this fucking aerobics and cardio and all this stuff. Like, I noticed that that's part of the pyramid, like, still
mhm,
do cardio,
but it's not the base of the
still do hit
pyramid.
training, but, like, if all you're doing is Orange Theory 4 days a week, like, awesome, it's fun, I've
Yeah,
done it, but it's gonna get old, you're gonna get injured at some point from repetitive doing the same thing, or you're going to, like, burn out and stall out on your progress, right? So, and
yeah,
I see it with patients all the time, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with Orange Theory, nothing wrong with Alpha Class, nothing wrong with CrossFit. The thing is you have to do, like, dynamic things with your fitness, right? You gotta move a lot, you
yeah.
gotta strength
Alright,
train,
let's
you
not go
gotta
back.
do
We
regular
already talked
fitness.
about a lot about this. I wanna talk about the priorities, and
Okay,
I know you could talk about this till you but what here's the thing, is that's what I want the women to get and the men to also get from this in their marriages, is that
hit
if
it.
you are going to encourage your woman, the one thing that you should be encouraging her to do is to do strength training because that has the absolute most benefits
Most return
and
on your investment.
most return on your investment. And so if you are going to, as a man, invest in your woman's health, you investing in the trainer for me when I was ready to say no, like cut it was and only reason I was going to cut it as it was a lot of money for me to be spending on myself. So that was what I had to more get comfortable with. But when you made that investment that you paid for the trainer for another 3 months of sessions, it was like game changer in our fitness.
Mhm.
Because I not only did I feel like you were encouraging me, but it made me feel like, "Hey, I'm doing something that actually is getting a return that he sees value in beyond me seeing value." And, like, me personally, like, I like to have muscle, like, that's been my MO the whole time of training, is I like to carry a more muscular frame, um, but now that I'm in, like I said, some of the shifting in my hormones, I'm like, "Holy fuck, thank God I have trained this way my whole life, where I have seen the value from day one." But now I'm seeing the value from a whole different perspective because just like you're saying, someone that's under-muscled or under-trained, you're gonna see the biggest gains if you start from 0 to
Yeah, so
like
don't let you don't have to have trained your whole life to get the benefit.
yes, and that's
Like,
what I wanted to come across.
it's going to be difficult. Like, the only things in life that are worth
Yeah,
doing are difficult. But the return on the gains, yeah, can happen for anybody. Doesn't matter how metabolically sick you are, doesn't matter how, like, unfit or even fit you are, right?
yeah,
You could be someone who's an aerobic monster, like, you're gonna benefit a ton from
yeah.
going
And back to the
into
trainer
some
thing, because
strength
the trainer
training.
thing was huge for accountability for me.
Mhm.
Is one of the things that's amazing about the trainer is that, we've built a really good relationship and, like, um, in training wise, but one of the things is, like, she puts on a lot more weight than I would ever put on myself, and, like,
Yeah, she
sometimes
pushes you, yeah.
and she doesn't tell me, like, I specifically don't ask, right? Like, she'll tell me, like, "Hey, I want you to aim for this many reps," right?
Mhm.
And, like,
Yeah, it's like having a
sometimes
training partner.
like, I looked at last week, just, like also, she helps me hold it accountable because, like, I suck at recording, like, what I did last time. But now, because I have a program I'm following, I have to input my numbers into the app, right? And even last week, there was a session that she couldn't make, so I did it, and I was actually shocked that I put on the weights that, like and jumped up on that, and she was like, "I'm so proud of you. You even jumped up." And I was like, there was a moment of time when I was thinking to myself, "Man, I could do this comfortable weight, or I could put what Eliza's gonna put on it for me, and I
Mhm.
could try it." And then, but now, like, all my weights have jumped up, and I'm not in that stage in my life where I'm chasing a PR anymore. Like, I don't give a shit what my back squat is or my deadlift, but I can tell you this: I'm deadlifting for reps some of my old PRs because I have a trainer that's putting the weight on without me actually getting in my head and thinking about it. And I thought about it as like when we went to that pistol shooting class. And remember when he was teaching, like, he was saying about using the phrase front sight. Was it front sight?
Mhm.
And to basically untrain your brain to get like thinking about how you're shooting.
He wanted you to focus on one thing.
He wanted you to focus on one thing so your brain couldn't trick you into thing. And I think about that when she's loading the extra weights on, is that like I'm focused on doing the movement that she's given me instead of like what the weight is.
Mhm.
So the reason I bring that up is that that's an example of a progressive overload program where I'm looking back, like I've now logged like 160 workouts in my app with her. And I looked back at this time last year, what I was doing for reps in the same movement. And I mean, it is a drastic difference. Some of my stuff is like 100 pounds difference. And I love the heavier weights, but here's the thing is that, like, if you are a female, the thing you need to be prioritizing is resistant training, and it's heavy for you, not heavy compared to what I can do
Yeah,
or what other
I
person
think
do.
people get it by now.
Okay, I know, I just get so into it because there's so many misconceptions of, like,
No, I
what
get
should
it.
I be doing for workouts, right?
Yeah, so would they think they get it by now?
And just like Ryan, coming back to the scheduling, my baseline minimum is 3 weight workouts a week, right? That's my minimum. There is no negotiation. I have to get 3 in. In an ideal week, I get 4, and I'm programmed for 4. In a bonus week, I'll get 5 sessions, and I'll do some additional accessory work. But on average, I aim for 4 sessions just like you do, and we communicate together when those workouts are so that I know that his goal is he's gotta get 4 in and I get to get 4 in, and it allows us to prioritize each other's health and help each other.
Yeah, so I mean, this whole podcast sounds like it's a lot about exercise and nutrition.
Okay, and now let's switch to nutrition.
No, we've already talked about nutrition. Let's
No,
talk
because I
about
wanna talk about it. I didn't get to talk about it.
okay.
You took all the time.
Fine, talk about it.
Alright, so I'm just thinking about, like I said, what these people that are messaging me, like, what am I gonna respond to them? Like, what's going to give them the most simplified, but the most concrete ways to do it? So, as Ryan talked about, we meal prep. We have done that a majority of it. However, the difference between Ryan and I is Ryan can eat the same thing every day and think that's cool. I cannot. I like the variety. I really like food. But one of the things that I've changed in the last year is getting consistent with the breakfast I eat. So that's like a non-negotiable, like where I don't mix that up. I just keep that the same. So I know that how I'm starting based on how I'm training that day is what breakfast I'm going to get, right? And it also takes a lot of decision making because I realized that part of for me was I would start getting decision fatigue.
Well, this is the same thing as someone planning your exercise program for you. If you have a planned nutrition routine, you don't have to think about, like, your shopping is
Yep.
always the same. Your meal plan that you eat is always the same. Now, I'm not saying eat the same goddamn thing all the time, but when I make plans for my guys, for example, like, hey, you could eat, this lean sirloin 6 ounces, or you eat, 7 ounces of chicken breasts with a quarter of avocado, or,
Yeah.
you get to learn, like, you can sub out proteins, you can sub out veggies, you can sub out starches. Like, you eat simply, but you don't have to eat the same goddamn thing all the time.
Yes.
I do in a lot of cases because it simplifies my life.
Mhm.
But like you said, you keep one meal consistent, and then obviously you have some
Yeah.
variety from
And I'm definitely
other
not
meals.
as disciplined as you. I am way more lenient, but I have found that following a specific macro plan in terms of like what macros I need to hit based on how I'm training at that time has been game changer. And where it's given me a lot of flexibility is also with Lily. For example, like if I know I'm going to have Lily and we're going to probably maybe go out for ice cream later, I'm going to plan my day accordingly. Then so that I can enjoy that ice cream and not get in my head about like, hey, I shouldn't have the ice cream because I already hit my macros today,
Mhm.
whatever ever that is. I have found that macros, I am not meticulous about it. I'll track and measure once in a great while just to make sure I'm in track. But other than that, I
Yeah,
pretty much
it takes
know
practice to get
and
there.
I prioritize protein, just like you said. But I find that so many women, especially my age, 40-ish, 40 to 45, when stuff does start shifting, depending on your hormonal levels, um, you sometimes start craving different things, different parts of your cycle, you start craving things. But one of the things that is my mainstay is I prioritize protein.
You
So
said
when
that.
I put protein on my plate, I eat that first. That's another rule I use. And this is also a rule I'm teaching Lily because we are not taught that as females. And it
Well,
is ingrained in our
nobody's
culture.
taught that as a person. Doesn't matter if you're
It's
male or female.
ingrained as to for us to eat less. And I find that women that are
Eat less,
gaining
for sure, yeah.
weight are actually under eating rather than overeating. It is a bigger epidemic, in my opinion, of people under eating than actually overeating the wrong shit.
Yeah, I mean, most people, whether they're male or female, undereat protein. Yeah, I mean, it's like women are definitely have a more difficult time, but both men and women both undereat protein.
Yeah.
And what do they sub in for calories other than that? It's carbs and fat. So, and then that's where you're going to put a lot more, bulk on your frame, especially if you didn't, if you're not building muscle and you're not metabolically shredding those calories. Yeah, you're gonna gain weight. So
And also, I want to touch on just one other thing on nutrition, and then we can kind of talk about some of the bonus stuff. But um, on the other side of is that, like, just like you said, vegetables kind of come second to you. Same thing for me, but I really prioritize. This is new for me, but I prioritize getting 25 grams of fiber, and I'll tell you why. As a female, that's even more important. One of the number one
yeah, people
ways
don't know what that means though. Like, what's 25 grams of fiber look like?
so it's like some soluble fiber, like some oatmeal, some more heavier carbohydrate that requires your body to break it down, like potatoes and, like I said, rice is more easy to digest, but like in lots of vegetable matter,
Where you're gonna
where it's
get a lot from
fibrous
veggies.
veggie matter.
So
So, but the reason I say the 25 grams is that one of the things I focus on, I've always had really a big challenge with my digestive health, right? More consistently to like constipation and that sort of thing was always a challenge for me, but I really didn't pay attention to it. And I started to learn about how one of the biggest things for you to optimize your hormones as a female is one of the biggest ways that you get rid of excess estrogen is actually through pooping.
mhm.
And
Yeah, it's the reabsorption that happens. So that's, again, it's a good, there's millions of reasons you need to eat, fiber, right? So just keep it simple, like prioritize protein, eat vegetables, right? Eat quality carbohydrates and minimize the added fats, right? So like we use olive oil, we use butter.
Mhm.
We just don't lather like salads full of crazy dressings. We don't put like
Yeah.
fucking like all these sauces and dressings and all that shit. We eat very simply. We use spices. We use lots of salt and pepper,
Yep.
and that's it.
And that's another thing in our marriage that I think is like that's what I wanted to bring this up on the podcast is that like we know that about each other. Like I know if I make Ryan a steak, he doesn't want butter on it because that's already super fatty for him. Like depending on the cut, that he's going to be like, oh man, it's harder for me to digest that. So I'm not going to add a bunch of fat to
Yeah,
that.
just make things simply.
And but we also know that about each other. So that's where I wanted to bring in kind of the meal prep thing is like we help each other with that. We've always done that. There's times when you do the grill and I do the sides and all that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, bringing the chef in has been a game changer and was a stretch for us. But now I'm like, I can't go back. Even sometimes when I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah,
it
and
is
it's just for
expensive.
3 days a week.
Yep, but even freeing us up, that for those 3 days, it's given us more time to be more specific with the days that we do make it
Yeah.
ourselves, I
It's
find.
just like a bougie meal service is what it is.
Yeah,
Because it's like, well, this is what we want. So we tell her what to make.
yeah,
It's
and
not like
she's,
it's
so
yeah.
accommodating.
So and that's an option. But anyway, so we beat the nutrition thing to death already. So that's enough.
'Kay.
So we've talked about training and nutrition till we're blue in the face, and we got to wrap this up. So like, I talked about minimizing alcohol. We talked about,
Maximizing sleep is one thing we didn't talk
well,
about.
so that's the last piece, right? So if there was like an other pyramid, so we talked about the movement one, the nutrition one. We talked about the other pyramid, and I'll just go off the top of my head. Sleep has to be the foundation of
Mhm,
and like we're not going to get into this too much, but Kendra and I have a mutual bedtime. We go to bed together. We have no TV in the bedroom. We keep our room cool. We keep it dark. We try to keep all electronic lights off and whatnot. And we try to get good quality sleep. And listen, like sleep is the most underrated health problem for most people, and it's the number one like performance enhancing thing you could possibly do
mhm,
for your everything, like hormones, your sex life, your body composition, your weight loss, blah blah blah. So we get to bed by 10 o'clock because those hours before midnight are important. I get up around 5. Kendra gets up around like 6:30. So we get up at different times, but we go to bed at the same time. That's like the key because I don't know how people do it, like getting to bed at different times. Like that would just fuck with me. So, sleep is number 1 by far. Minimizing alcohol, I would put as number 2, especially if you're prioritizing like recovery and body comp and like health. Number 3, as far as like from a healthy habit perspective,
mhm.
I don't know, what would you put as like number 3?
I would put hydration
Yeah, there
probably
you go.
before,
Hydration, we prefer like Lily drinks water, that's all she drinks.
mhm,
All we drink is water. Like we have a tasty drink at night, which is like
seltzer.
a seltzer, like, I do, like, hop water, you do
I like the
I'll do s
poppies.
poppies or seltzers, it's like, kinda like
It feels like a treat.
fizzy tasty, but no calorie, and, yeah, so we prioritize water. I drink a gallon a day, you probably don't drink that much.
I aim for half a gallon.
Yeah,
On the days I train harder, I do up that,
yeah,
but, like, that's my half a gallon's my baseline. Like,
yeah,
that's
and then I
that's it.
guess if we top the pyramid off with, like, um, you know, I guess, like, recovery, like, I have a cold plunge, um, I think what else? Sauna, recovery,
Yeah. I
plunge.
mean, for me, most of my recovery is I will do yoga once a week.
Fun. You
Um,
horseback ride?
yep, and that's
I need to
been
have more
game
fun.
changer. And I think that we, really that part of the foundation of this bonus pyramid we're calling it has got to be, taking care of your mental emotional health.
Yeah,
And
I
that
mean,
can
that's what I'm
mean
saying, like, fun, like, fun's gotta be the
yeah.
top, like, fun, connection, like, whatever it is. I mean, we could get into 1,000 things, but,
Yeah.
I think those other things are like the sleep, the hydration, um,
Minimizing the alcohol.
and the minimization of alcohol. I think those are just, like, super like, those are my 5 levers that I teach all my
Mhm.
guys, all my practice members, patients, whatever. It's
Yeah.
like stress management, hydration, nutrition, like prioritizing protein, right? Strength training and fitness and
Mhm.
sleep. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the 5 levers.
Yeah, and I think that if we did it like I said, let's recap it in terms of, on your marriage. Number 1 is gonna be prioritizing schedule, both of your schedules
Mhm.
of like, "Hey, when do you wanna get this in? How often do you wanna train?" Like, that's a great conversation.
Yeah.
That's a great date night conversation
Yeah.
of like because that makes a difference. It's like when we got into the routine of like you train Monday, Wednesdays at 6 AM, I train Monday,
I
Wednesdays
feel
at
like there
8.
was a time where you, like, stopped giving me a hard time about exercise.
It's
When did that happen?
started doing it first thing in the morning, and then you told me then I could go after. Like, that was, like, why I said the schedules, because I was like, it would always be like I would fit it in around whatever you were doing. And now you made me a priority of like, "Hey, I know you wanna get it in too." So it made a shift for me. So
Okay.
that's really valuable to share, I think. The second thing
And I
is
think, like, you just sort of default eat like me, whatever I'm doing, just kinda like, "Okay, this is what we're doing now." You know what I mean?
um, I think
So I
mostly
think there's gonna be a partner who's anyway, I'm saying
yeah.
there's a partner who's gonna be more of the leader in that, I think,
Mhm.
like,
Yep.
I just feel like I'm way more of the leader in that sort of, like, the health stuff, which I
Yeah.
love that, like, it's what I do, it's what I love, like, and I love that
Mhm.
you trust me and that you, like, you're on my team when it comes
Yeah.
to that stuff.
And I'm the prioritizer of the planning, right?
Yeah.
Like, no
Here's how we're
randomness.
gonna make this work in
Yes. Yep.
Ryan's life.
Yeah. So I think number 1, let's recap. Prioritizing schedule, each other's schedule in terms of when you're gonna work out. Then I think that prioritizing progressive overload of some sort or a progressive overload training
I
program.
don't know, you're making this up now, so,
No, this is what we talked about
okay.
for an hour.
Well, I mean, I made it
I'm
very
recapping what I heard us say.
okay.
Okay. Number 3 is prioritizing protein, and that means also prioritizing nutrition, how you're grocery shopping. That was a game changer when you
Mhm.
started getting involved in, like, ordering online groceries, so I didn't have to go to the grocery store 3 times a week.
Yeah,
Huge game changer for our
just start
marriage.
leveraging, things that are built for convenience. If it stresses you out to, like, have to go shopping and stuff, like,
Sure.
literally, you can pay someone to drop off your groceries now for, like, 10 extra dollars. Like,
Yeah,
it's not tremendous. It's not, obviously super affordable for everybody, but there's stuff, like, you just have to budget your time, budget your focus and your commitment to
and then,
do
like,
that.
those hours you free up of me grocery shopping even, it allows me to free up to, like, make a meal.
Yeah.
And connect over a meal instead of like, "Okay, I ate, you're good, now you need to eat, Lily," and like, like
Yeah.
how we used to do it, right? And then, like I said, prioritizing the bonus stuff, like as a couple, what do you think about alcohol? Like, do you think your partner goes overboard on the alcohol? Like, do they need to cap it at 3 drinks, but sometimes they do 6? But like
Well, I think we kinda auto-regulated that. That was never really anything
but
that
like I said, that's another great conversation to have
yeah.
with within your
Well, you
marriage
just
of
have
like,
to decide
"Hey."
what's important to you.
Yeah.
Like, what's important to you, right? Is it important to you that, like, I wake up refreshed and I'm able to, like, take our daughter and do this?
Yep.
Or am I gonna drag ass and sleep in the morning? Or, like, is it important for you to, like, get up and go to the gym? Like, you're not gonna do that if you have 4 drinks, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, and then just get to
And then
bed.
I was gonna say, and prioritizing your sleep, which I can tell you this, if this is from experience of talking to other couples, but, like, if you don't go to bed at the same time,
Well, you don't have sex then for sure,
you don't have sex,
and you have shitty sleep.
you have shitty sleep,
You
the other
better
person
get up at
usually
the
has
same time.
shitty sleep,
Yeah,
you usually get up at different
yeah,
times, so you're already disconnected from the time you hit
yeah,
the ground running.
great point.
So, I think there's a lot of focus on morning routines,
Mhm.
like, like 5 AM club,
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff,
evening
but
routine.
there's not a lot of focus on evening routines.
That's a good point.
And I think that that is also something to really look at, like, so we just gave you 5 things that you could work with your spouse.
Yeah, I feel like we're all over the place, but you got, 53 minutes of of us talking shit,
If
so,
you're still
yeah, if you're
listening,
still
then
listening.
maybe you got something out of it. I don't know.
Right. Alright, wrap it up.
If you like this podcast, please share it with someone that you think could benefit. And then also we encourage you to rate, review, and subscribe to the Weaponized Marriage.
And keep sending, questions.
Yeah,
I love when people send questions because it stimulates podcast ideas for us, and it
yeah.
helps us share, like, valuable insights. So
Can I share one more thing? We've already
Oh,
gone so
fuck.
over. Stop.
Okay, share
Stop.
one more thing.
So today I was at our office getting our phlebotomist, Ellen. She was doing my labs. And she's like, "Oh my God, I've been listening to your podcast." And I thought she meant my personal podcast. She's like, "No, the one with you and Ryan." She's like, she's like, "I love it so much." And I was like,
No
"You know
way.
what? This is what I'm saying is like, please tell us that. Like, rate, review, and subscribe because like it's awesome when you tell us to our face." But like she was like, "Yeah, I shared the one about I think it was about your journey back to God with one of my friends that just really loved it and it like
Nice.
really she said it stimulated a conversation between her and her friend." And so like that's why we're doing this. We're not doing
That's
this
awesome.
to like,
Make money.
make money, right?
Definitely
This
not.
is like something that's not only been healing and fun for our marriage,
Yeah.
as much as people think that that might be odd that I say that this is our type of fun.
I think
But
so.
like share it with someone that, like I said, it might resonate with. And then please rate, review, and subscribe.
One more time. Review, subscribe. All right, I gotta go get Papa Dave.
Okay, bye.
All right, see you guys
Next
next
week.
week.